Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivimey.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of heroic television or film. And this week on the podcast, we are talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
We're going across the entire Spider-Verse.
Yes. Yeah.
We're not just in it.
Turn off the dark. We are going across the Spider-Verse.
We got a little map and we're going left to right across.
All of them.
Every spider.
We're going to do all of them. We're talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the second of the Spider-Verse films. We've seen it. It's what we're doing today, baby.
It's what we're doing today. Yeah. I feel like we're just waiting till we get to the spoiler review.
I know.
Spoiler-free review. Why would we say anything that wasn't just the spoiler-free review?
Exactly.
What is it's a sequel to 2018's Into the Spider-Verse. I'm sure you all knew that. This is not new information.
You know what? We're here. You know what's going on. You've listened to the podcast before, I presume. If you're new, welcome. We always do a spoiler-free review. Let's jump into a spoiler-free review, and then once you hear the theme music, we're going to enter the spoiler-filled section. But for now, spoiler-free review. Across the Spider-Verse. Diana, did you like it?
I quite liked it. It was not a love. I don't think it's as good as Into the Spider-Verse by leaps and bounds. I think the first half is a very good dramatic story, and the second half is like a better comedy. And I don't think it coalesces into a story that is one movie. It is a part one and a part two, and it very much feels like it, and that bothers me a lot, that I do not feel like I've gotten a satisfying, complete story. But it's also gorgeous. Oh my God, it's really, really fun at times. It's really sad at times. It is an experience. It's one of the few movies I'm glad I saw this in a theater. Like some movies, even though we mostly see superhero stuff, I'm like, I can watch it at home, it's fine. But this was a really great theater experience. There's so many plot problems and pacing problems, but it's also so fun and pumpy and there's so much to see and do, and it's frenetic, and the time goes by really, really quick, but also then you're like, the story just kind of ends. So that was really bothersome for me. So I have some ups and downs about it. I did really quite like it, but I'm haunted by the problems. So that's kind of me. Yeah, it's Into the Spider-Verse sequel, very much all the same great stuff, but some stuff's missing. But it's still the spoiler-free section, so I can't say. So yeah, ups and downs, pretty high like. Andrew, how did you like it?
I loved it.
Okay.
I loved it. I'm a huge love. I'm an adore. I agree with your problems.
Wait a minute. The logic.
It's beyond love, and then the problems brought it down to love.
Okay.
So we've mentioned it previously on the podcast that originally this was called Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, and there is to be a third movie in the Spider-Verse series that was initially called Across the Spider-Verse Part 2. When they announced the trailer, when they released the trailer even, it was called that. And then testing and focus group data said everyone hates that. No one wants two-part movies, much like the same marketing that happened with Dune, where Dune was Dune Part 1, and they put out a trailer with that, and everyone was like, fuck you, we're not seeing Part 1 of a movie. And then they stopped calling it that and completely changed all marketing materials. This is a similar event to that, and in that sense, this still feels like Part 1. I don't care that they rebranded it. Let's be real. This is Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, and it just stops.
Thank you. It
just stops. So depending on how they stick the landing with Part 2, or as they're now calling it, Beyond the Spider-Verse, or Part 3, I guess. Part 2
of this one.
But the next one, depending on how they stick the landing, it could be just incredible. But this was such a high love, but the pacing is weird because you're only watching, I'm not even going to say the first half of a movie. You're watching the first third of a movie as a full movie that just stops. And that first third of a movie might be my favorite first third of a movie I've ever fucking seen. It is phenomenal. It is gorgeous. It is perfectly performed. It is fun. It is comedic. It is heart-wrenching. I laughed. I cried. It has everything, but the pacing is weird because it's not a full story. It's just not a full story. But I love the section of the story that I've seen. this is an incredible section of a story I've seen. There is no other story I think I've ever seen in movie, television, any visual medium that has as good 1/3 of it as this movie.
I mean, most stories don't get this much to be a third.
I agree. The ratios are off, but my statement
off.
stands. I've never experienced 1/3 of a story that was as good as this is.
Okay, I will. That's a big, huge conversation to have.
Yes.
But I'm happy for you that you think that. I think this is too long. It should be shorter, and it needs a proper ending. But it's great, but I almost want to see it again because knowing that it just kind of stops, I think I could enjoy it more on a second viewing of being like, well, let's just go along for the ride. I know I won't be satisfied where this ends because I think I spent like the second half of the movie, which I guess is the second eighth. Oh, wait, we're doing thirds.
Sure.
The second sixth of the movie, just being like, I don't know what the driving force of this is. I don't know what we're trying to stop and what we're going towards. And there's just so many pacing problems. But at the same time, just like, look at all these spider people. Look at this cool idea we're exploring.
Yeah.
This is a tragic tale. This guy's so funny. There's so much happening.
There were moments where I'm like, I agree with you. I'm like, I don't know where we're going. I'm crying, but I don't know where we're going. And it's crazy that you've gotten this reaction out of me. And I think that's the amazing part of this. But I agree, it's killing time at times.
Yeah, and I'm going to throw out, and I hope I don't compare it too often, but I will say a perfect part 1 and part 2 is Infinity War and Endgame, which shows you can tell a complete complex story in 2 separate movies that are connected, but
Sure.
one feels very done.
And I think that is also an example where we like Infinity War a lot more than we like
Infinity
Endgame.
War is way better than Endgame.
Which I think is a good sign that they're 2 separate movies, even though that is 2 that ends on a cliffhanger and one answers the question that the other proposes. But there is a sense of literal, in many ways, finality, and it is 2 different stories. It's not just it stops.
Are you saying that's a good or a negative? Like that's 2 different stories.
I think it's good that it's 2 different
okay.
stories. Where I think now a lot of 2-part things are just like...
It's a story that stops in the middle.
It is just directors being like, I made a 7-hour movie. And studios being like, fuck yourself. No one wants to see that. And studios being like, if we cut it into 2 3-hour movies, I guess this is releasable. And we can maybe make twice as much money or at minimum salvage it. But it is a lot of no one editing down work anymore. Is a lot of the new 2-parters that we get, which is just like, you didn't make 2 movies. You didn't make a sequel. You made 1 7 to 9 hour movie that you refused to compromise with.
I completely agree, but I'm laughing because I'm just thinking of all those Netflix directors who are like, my TV show is a 7-hour movie. Everyone just wants a 7-hour movie these days.
Except audiences. Every auteur storyteller is like, what if 7-hour movies?
And everyone's bladder is like, get an editor.
Yes.
I gotta pee.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same auteur filmmakers who a decade ago were like, video games can't be 7-hour movies. But now when a studio won't hire an editor, they're like, but I did it though. I'm the one.
All right. So this is the spoiler free, I think.
Yes, I think that is the spoiler free. I'm a love. You're a mid-like, it seems.
I actually quite liked it, but I'm so bogged down by the endings.
Okay.
By that last act.
I may love it in spite of the ending.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in love
As
of it
long
in
as
spite of the fact that it stops.
I feel great that you get what I'm saying, though.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Okay, excellent. We're on very similar wavelengths then. Wonderful.
But
absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. And can it be spoiled?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on.
It's a long first third of a movie with just a shit ton going on. A bunch of it can be spoiled.
Although you can probably guess it if you know anything about spider people.
Yeah, I think you can guess a little bit of it, and also there's some that you can guess here, but I think there's a few general vibes in this where I'm like, oh fuck, I actually didn't kind of see this vibe coming.
That's fair about vibes.
Yeah,
you know what?
It has a different vibe than I expected at a few different points. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, let's go into the spoiler-filled section. Spoilers ahead. Let's talk more about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Spoilies.
I'm glad we're on the same page of this.
We're on pretty similar pages to this. Like, I feel like we're both going to like the same things, and then the things we don't like are bothering me more than they're bothering you.
I get that. I fully get that. Now, I think before we get into the nitty-gritty, I do kind of want to unpack this trend a little bit more.
Oh, excellent.
Because this has been happening more and more. We just discussed the most recent Fast and Furious, which, no spoilers if you haven't seen the Fast and Furious, but a similar thing, without getting into the details of the air quote ending, but the studio being like, yeah, we're filming these two back to back, and it's just kind of one thing. And I'm like, okay, but you just stop telling a story and then the credits roll, and that's not how movies or sequels work. And then I feel like there's been a few others. Dune gets a little more leeway from me because it's based on, a
super long book.
A super long book that has a lot to tell. And I'm like, okay, you get a pass.
And Dune at least kind of finds like a point where it's like he survived the first thing.
It does feel like there's a natural stopping point.
Yes. And because that's where the other Dunes also. Oh no, wait, that's not where the other Dunes stopped. The movie. But yeah, it feels like a pretty natural stopping point in Dune.
Yeah.
Fast and the Furious did not feel like a natural stopping point. I know there's been other Part 1 and 2 movies. I haven't seen the Harry Potters, but the last one's a Part 1 and 2.
Right.
I don't know if that was well done.
I think the Hunger Games did that as well.
That sounds like something they do.
And I think that those were, and it's a weird two different reasons. I think those were a studio telling you to do it because we want to sell twice as many tickets. Mm-hmm. So I think Harry Potter Hunger Games did the 2-part thing because it was like, we cannot give this cash cow up. Please, for the love of God, make it 2 instead of 1. And now we're transitioning into the filmmakers won't do it and the studios are like, I guess.
I will say Harry Potter, I know that book is mega long. I think that might have been a book too long, Part 1 and 2.
Okay.
I don't know about Hunger Games. The physical books have never looked super huge to me.
Sure.
But I know the last Harry Potter was like a long, long one. But yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't understand just logistically why studios want their movies to be longer. Because when they're shorter, they can play more in a day and you can make more money. When you have a 3-hour movie, it plays twice a day.
Yes, but I've also read studies on this where essentially as studios get bigger and acquire other studios, and there essentially only becomes 2 to 3 major players, shorter movies doesn't allow theirs to play more. It allows smaller independent films to creep in and compete with them. Oh. So it's better for them to have financially. It is better for these major studios, these oligopolies that have taken over everything, to monopolize theaters' time. To be like, yes, you can play only Spider-Verse. Or you can die as a movie theater are your two options. Whereas a shorter Spider-Verse wouldn't result in more Spider-Verse. It would result in the same amount of Spider-Verse and then other smaller studios chipping away at the big guys, and they don't want that. So it's a really shitty business practice that studios have done, and there is weird data to kind of back up around the if they just monopolize your time, it's not about how often can you see them, it's about how little free time do you have to see anything else. Rude. And that's how they become the sole proprietor of film for people.
Okay, well, I don't like that, but thank you for answering my question. The answer is bad, but
yes,
I am informed.
Capitalism is in rough shape.
Is there no ethical consumerism under capitalism, you say?
Yes, that's what I say.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
no.
The delicate dance between art and commerce has always been a very tumultuous one, and now is worse than ever. But we do still enjoy our comic book movies. I had a great time.
This is still art.
It's still art.
This might be the most art of any superhero art. Like, every single Spider-Man or Spidey character being in totally different styles and so many more than in the first movie. Like, the first movie did all have them in their own styles, of course, but they all existed in Miles' world, and we almost didn't go to anyone else's universes. So for this movie to be like, we're going to go to multiple universes, you're going to meet characters who all are wildly differently drawn, animated, like Spider-Punk has huge stroked outlines around him. He kind of exists as a flat paper version. There's just so much happening. It's art.
Yeah, it's really incredible visually what they've done. We talked about this last week with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, that it's like Lord and Miller who wrote this and produced it but didn't direct it. But Lord and Miller are consistently doing interesting animation work, whether it is Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. They don't look like other things. When we went to see this before the movie, there was a trailer for 3 upcoming DreamWorks movies, and they all looked like the literal same movie.
Literally
not
the
in a
same.
shared universe. I was like, there's no difference between every single thing DreamWorks is currently producing.
I actually was wondering if they were maybe a shared universe.
And-
Because you know how people have like the Pixar theories and they always find like Pixar things in each
Sure.
movie? And like,
Yeah.
I think it's all the same universe. I'm like, this is clearly the same universe. The animation's all the same. Illumination
Yeah,
or whoever you are, DreamWorks.
And or DreamWorks, yeah, they're both identical. So what are we doing? But Lord and Miller are consistently working with talented animators and creating these fresh original takes. I'm looking forward to seeing behind the scenes of how they animated this, because like I can't eloquently describe the details. All I can do is recommend for any of you for the first movie, for Into the Spider-Verse, if you haven't already, go watch some of the behind the scenes and some of the explanations of how they did the animation of Miles being animated on 4s and I think Peter being animated on 2s.
Because they're from different universes, they have different frame rates.
And Miles is out of sync with that universe, so he's not animated on the same frames that Peter is animated on. So these little things that like, look that up. There's so much incredible information out there about how they made that first movie, and I'm legitimately like excited to sink into how they animated this one as well.
Yeah, because there is just such hugely different, like how they animated it, and also just like the success at animating it. Like you can design all these different Spider-Men, but to design them and like costume them and also like make them look like they're from where they're from, like. The Ben Reilly Spider-Man might have been my favorite.
Oh, I
And
love it.
He genuinely looked pulled straight from the comics, even though he like has to move in this moving picture version. But he is like a little bit brighter and his lines are cleaner, but his inking's darker.
And the muscularity is crazy. And he's
so 90s Spider-Man. It's so perfect.
And he's got the McFarlane spaghetti string webbing, and like it is just mwah. And also to do this and have them interact in a way that also feels believable and interesting. You know, to have a British punk art kind of magazine clipping art style character that switches from black and white and color to interact with a totally different style of animation is really impressive. To do it in a way that is believable and to accomplish that it's wild.
It's absolutely wild. I think the only thing that felt a little bit like janky, and I don't know like when they filmed this or what was a part, was Spot talking to the shopkeeper from Venom. That was the only part that didn't feel coalesced.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But also like that's exactly what it would look like if an animated character appeared suddenly in the real world. So I don't really know how it would fix, but it just didn't feel quite right.
That scene felt a little forced. It felt a little bit like, and you know, Sony loves Sonying. You know, Miles only uses Sony headphones and you know, Sony smartphones that don't exist anymore and Sony laptops.
Hey,
and like
India Spider-Man's last name is Sony.
Exactly. They're played by a man named Sony. So Sony loves to Sony. So that felt like more of a plug for Venom than anything.
It really did, and I was like, if fucking Morbius shows up, I'm gonna kill you, Sony.
I was worried. I was legitimately worried that the existence of Jared Leto would fuck with my vibes at one point. Once they went to the Venom universe to see that shopkeeper, or the character of Spot did, because in this movie, the main villain is Spot. So Spot's going around to different universes and popping in and out, and you know, we're getting the like, he's popping here, he's popping there, he's getting more reactors and getting more powerful, but he accidentally pops into the Venom universe, and it just feels like a plug. And also, it's like, I mean, no disrespect to the actor who plays that like bodega cashier, because she's incredibly comedically talented and does a wonderful job, and actually does a fine job with this scene as well, but isn't necessarily like the fan favorite or where the heat is. It really feels like it was like Tom Hardy wasn't available, and we needed something legally. Sony required us to plug their other movie, and we needed to do this. And yeah, I really don't mean to disrespect this performer, because she is funny, but it's not load-bearing in any way, and it could easily be deleted.
Yeah, it could easily be deleted, and it was a very long scene for not getting Tom Hardy.
Yes.
Yeah, like there was like 8 or 9 lines of dialogue here, and you only know she's the Venom shopkeeper if you're like not like a huge Venom head, but I think if you've only seen like the first one casually, you'd be like, who the hell is this guy? Because she doesn't say Eddie Brock, she doesn't say Venom.
Yeah.
You just have to assume that might not even be her. That might just be another shopkeeper from another universe.
Another Earth that doesn't have Venom.
Who sees a lot of shit.
Sure.
Yeah. So, like, yeah, that was the weirdest one. And then I actually really appreciate that they didn't try to incorporate Lego. They were just like, Lego's its own thing, and he just calls Miguel Lego Spider-Man.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be there all the time. They're like, but there is a Lego version.
Don't you worry.
And we got the animation right, because that's also Lord and Miller, so we do our thing.
We had the files for the Lego animation,
Yeah.
so don't you worry. So yeah, just an incredibly spectacular, visually spectacular film.
Yeah.
In every way.
Yeah, in every possible way. And let's talk about this opening sequence.
I wanted to talk about it's my favorite part of the movie.
It is heart-wrenching. It's incredible. It's so well done. It opens with Gwen's perspective, and we get Gwen's story. We get kind of Gwen where she is at now, plus her origin story, which is something a little bit different from the rest of them that we've seen, but it's done in that same style as all of the Spider people from the previous film kind of delivered their individualistic stories. And it's just an incredibly well done story.
It's an incredibly well told story, like telling it with her like drumming the first parts out while she's talking about how like it's the same but it's different, and it's my Peter did this, and like she did get a little bit of backstory in the first one, but it was so brief. They didn't dive into what happened, and it's so tragic and it's so compelling. But then it's like such a great action sequence as well when this like paper mache vulture shows up that it sequences into. And the story of her and her dad might be like the most compelling, because normally when a spider person doesn't want to tell their parents, just like, oh, they might be in danger, they might not understand, he will arrest her.
Yeah.
But he also thinks he's avenging her best friend. It is the most complicated, interesting, tragic dynamic I've ever heard for a spider person. I was so compelled. I was so involved. And I love this idea of that's why she has no friends. Like the friends she did have, she like accidentally killed. And now she just won't reach out to anyone who isn't a spider person. It explains her desperation to go to other dimensions to see spider people. I cried. It was so beautiful. Like I loved this opening.
And we talk about art style. The art style of this opening of like the entire world was this watercolor painting that reflected the internal emotions of every character in the individual scenes. Like the conversations between like her and her father of like her father feeling desperate and the background and world having a painting that kind of reflects that, and then like her giving him hope, and it cuts back and it's just now more of like a pastel watercolor that's this kind of moving emotional palette behind him. And the way that they would just constantly change what the background was to not necessarily like, sometimes it would match the scene in a different art style, and sometimes it was just completely like a conceptual background that characters would have. I loved that.
It was incredible. Because, yeah, it felt like a world where if nothing emotional is happening, it just looks normal. Like it's in watercolors and it's a little pastel-y and it's beautiful, but it's kind of normal. But then you have an emotional scene and like the walls are reflecting your feelings, and the walls start to cry when you're crying, and the water drips, and like your body also loses detail.
Yeah.
Like the dad kept losing detail during the last scene, but he was also like deciding not to be a cop, and his whole outfit lost color.
It lost like the outlines where the badge was. Like literally, like his previous identity was kind of melting away with the scene.
Absolutely incredible environmental storytelling going along with the actual storytelling.
Yeah.
Everything about Gwen's story was so compelling.
And also just like an art style that reflects that teenage experience so really really well, of that, like, how you feel in a moment affects how you, it's almost like we're seeing how Gwen, even though it's happening in real time, we're seeing how Gwen remembers it. Ooh. You know, that youthful experience of, like, how you feel in a moment changes the way the room looks, the way, like, the clothing pops, like, how you feel in that moment is what that moment is.
I almost even feel like it's more like the background gets, like, blurry because you only remember the person.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter, like, what the pictures were in the background or what your couch looked like. You remember what your father said and what he did and how he looked in that moment.
Yeah.
So it does look like memories.
And I think on top of that, too, the fact that, like, her father being a somewhat kind of a closed-off stoic figure in moments, and her kind of being an introverted kid who isn't necessarily as verbose as some of the other Spider people, using these kind of backgrounds and these world paintings to convey emotions, where it's like, how do you convey a stoic cop father in kind of a bland scene in animation when there is no lines? And it's like, well, that's just kind of a painting. But if we expand on that experience, it does so much more. So, like, these character types also work so much better with this art style. It's the perfect choice in every possible regard of making art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the opening is flawless. I love when Miguel shows up. They have fun back and forth. Oh my God, when the father threatens to shoot her and take her to jail, it is emotional. It is wonderful. You totally get what's going on with Gwen so clearly. I will say, I think it kind of, her story might be so good that it might do a disservice to Miles's story. Because when we cut to Miles and he gets about 15 minutes of backstory, I guess I was just like, your life doesn't seem very bad, Miles.
Right.
You seem busy, but Gwen's going through shit.
Well,
you've still got A's at school. Your parents fucking love you. I don't see why you don't make new friends. I understand why Gwen doesn't make new friends.
Sure.
I don't really understand why Miles isn't really making friends. I guess he's just too busy Spider-Manning. But it is a beautiful story about parents, like, wanting to love and support you and having to deal with teenagers and how you change and how you want to be independent. But compared to Gwen, it's not as interesting.
I think it is as interesting, but Gwen's happens in a 15-minute window. Gwen's is told with an efficient, heartbreaking storytelling, whereas Miles, we have experienced it, and now we're experiencing it in slow motion. So I think that as a character, Miles is as interesting as Gwen. I love Gwen. I love the story they tell, and I love how concise and compact it is. But I think that after that, Miles doesn't hit as hard because we are watching 10% speed. We are watching true slow motion of this entire thing.
I can get behind that because Miles becomes wildly interesting. He has to figure out who he is as a Spider-Man. He has to figure out why he doesn't fit in, even among the other Spider-Man, what his story will be, how he's going to tell it. He becomes very interesting. I do think there is a slight pacing issue just in his opening, like, before Gwen shows up. I'm like, this has been a while of this.
Yeah.
You know, the stuff with Spot's fun, and his parents are so wonderful and so loving, but there's like 3 scenes about how they're loving and support him and don't understand him. I'm like, well, I think we can wrap this up a little faster.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in that first section that there is some metaphors and some planting of different things that do kind of work.
Oh, he's definitely showing up with a cake in movie 2. I tell you that much.
He's got to show up with a cake.
There's gonna be a cake.
That's for sure. But even like little detailing of parallels that do really well in this is like just him getting a B in Spanish, getting an A in everything except Spanish, which he gets a B in, and Gwen later establishes she has an A in everything except English. Which she has a B in. So just like this, like they're the same person with the cop parent with the same grades and everything like that. And I kind of like Rachel Dratch's character of like the principal / guidance counselor of the like. It seems innocuous, even though like looking back on it, it seems so heavy-handed if I paraphrase it. But to be like, what is your story? What is your story? And also this movie is telling the story of like your story's not finished yet. And that is what the Council of Spider People are kind of saying, is that like there is a pivotal event that is going to come that will define you. And right now you are a blank page, which is why we can't deal with you. Like you are a blank page and you are a story that's waiting to be finished being written. And this is like the principal / guidance counselor saying that, to be like, but who are you hasn't been defined yet. And even like the parents say we might be doing this a little bit too early. So them saying that they're here too early to have this conversation about what Miles' story is and what defines him. And the Council of Spider People saying that as well. I think there are some really strong thematic parallels in this section. I agree the pacing can be a bit slow, but I do love some of the thematic parallels that they have in here.
I love a thematic parallel. You really got me on all those. Those were all really nice, because I will say the other thing I love about this movie is the later allegory of like Miles needs to have a tragedy. Miles needs to fit within the canon of the Spider People. And I love that as an allegory for the fan base not accepting Miles as Spider-Man for so many years.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I read from it. I'm sure there's many other readings of it. But just like the fans being like, no, you have to be Peter Parker, and you have to have an Uncle Ben who died, and you have to have a tragedy. And Miles just being like, no, I'm Miles. I'm not going to have those tragedies. I'm going to do this my own way. I'm going to have electricity powers and be invisible. Fucking deal with it. Like, and even points out, he's like, no one else can do these things.
Right.
For the most part.
I'm different.
I'm different. I'm someone. And I really love that as an allegory for the fan base's treatment of Miles over the years. Is my interpretation. I'm like, yeah, suck it, shitty fanboys who didn't like Miles. Miles rules.
I think that's cool as hell and really interesting.
Oh, thank you.
I like that. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but I think that that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I will say that is what I'm most interested for in part 2, or the third one, or whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah.
Of how Miles is going to tell his own story and how this is going to fill out of like, will it be tragedy, or will he be like, I'm the one who doesn't have to have tragedy? Because I know in the comic books, I think eventually they did kill his mom, but for a long time he was like the only spider person with parents.
Right.
And it was like, hey, I don't need this tragedy. I can save people without needing to be motivated by death.
Yes.
I can just want to save people.
And I think that there might also be like a metaphor there to be like a watershed moment in how we tell stories as well. Superhero stories, comic book stories are just these as well, to be like, we've moved now beyond death being the only motivation. Like, we don't need murder to motivate, that there are intrinsic values that are more interesting to explore and do more so define who you are based on your choices rather than what has been thrust upon you. So I think that it's also like, maybe this commentary on the change in storytelling for these types of characters as well.
I like the idea of optimistic storytelling. Like, give me the Ted Lasso of superheroes, of just like, no, we're going to be just nice and optimistic and have a nice day. And my humor is not hiding my sadness like Peter Parker.
Yes.
It's not covering up how tragic and poor I am.
Absolutely.
I actually come from, and I loved pointing that out. This is the thing that the fan base does all the time. Sorry, it was an earlier part that you mentioned during the what's your story part, and the professor keeps saying, like, you're an immigrant, you're poor, you came up from here. And he's like, we're not immigrants, and we actually live in a really nice neighborhood, and we make a fair amount of money. Because every time in the fandom, whenever people kind of think of Miles, they assume he's poor, and that's why he does graffiti and art, and they think he comes from like this like terrible neighborhood. It was like, no, guys, canonically, in all versions, his parents make good money. He just likes graffiti-style art.
Yeah, your own prejudices are painting this story on him when that's not who this person is.
That's not who he is. Yeah. So I actually really did like that the guidance counselor pointed these things out. That was a really nice touch. I was like, this is a deep cut, Lord and Miller, and I love it.
Yeah, and also just being like, well, you know, like, you're an immigrant family, be like, we're Puerto Rican, which is part of the United States,
which everyone seems to forget.
But yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I really like that, of putting a button on it to just be like, hey, this is who this character is. Stop saying your racist nonsense. Stop making up shit that you think that this character is.
Stop all your racist shit about about Miles. Can't say Spider-Man. There's so many of them. There's 50 Spider-Man in this movie.
That was a funny joke when they're at like I forget what it's called, but I'm gonna call it like the Council of the Spider People or whatever.
I read it in like 3 reviews and I can't remember. The Spider Council.
Spider Council. They're at the headquarters, and it's like get Spider-Man, and they do the Spider-Man pointing meme, which is just always fun.
You gotta do.
You gotta do
Spider-Man
it.
Pointing meme.
Yeah.
Very quickly, who's your favorite alt Spider-Man?
Oh, of all the alts, I mean, I do.
You must know off the top. You must like in your heart.
I mean, you know, like in this movie, like
In this movie. I mean, is there someone who wasn't in this movie?
No, I'm just trying to my brain's just running through all the qualifiers.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, Ben Reilly, you know, I love Ben Reilly. I like that art style. I like that costume. I'm a fan of the Scarlet Spider. I love Andy Samberg. I think he's wildly funny, incredibly talented. I think he does a phenomenal job of doing the over dramatic, like, oh, I'm just thinking of the pain of my life. I love Samberg's performance. And I love that costuming style, and also the art style pops in this. So I'm going to say in a lot of ways, I'm really a big fan of what they did with Ben and Ben's styling in this.
Excellent. Love that.
Yeah, so that's going to be, what about you?
I think I liked, for a joke, I liked Peter Parked Car. Fuck, that got me really good.
That is a funny line.
It just works so well with his name. I actually don't know which Spider-Man this is. I liked the horse and the cowboy Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know that one either, but Cowboy Spider-Man.
Cowboy Spider-Man. And I actually think my favorite Spider-Man, he's probably there somewhere, but I didn't see him. Was it Ultimate Spider-Man? There used to be a Spider-Man in medieval times. He was in like 2 episodes.
Oh, yeah. I forget what it's called, but like, medieval time Spider-Man.
That guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy. He just had like a grappling hook because he didn't have
So you
web
did go
fluid.
outside of this movie for your answer.
He's probably there somewhere. I'm saying he's there somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite alt Spider-Man.
I love that.
But in this Spider movie, it's probably the cowboy.
I also think it's exciting that I do like that the Insomniac video game Spider-Man is also in there as well. Shout out to Yuri Lowenthal who voices that character, who I think gets like maybe one line or like a quick hit of something in this. But I like that Spider-Man is there, because that's also a good Peter, and Yuri has been owning that in video games for a while.
That is a
really
nice
good
touch.
voice performance as well.
Is it weird that literally the only Spider-Man not here is Tom Holland? I know he gets mentioned.
I mean, we know legally why. Like, it's just because Marvel has a co-ownership and would have to sign off on that, which would mean that then this has whole other implications.
I guess you would think at least archival footage, like with the other 2.
I think Sony just doesn't 100% own it, so you still would need sign off from Marvel because it was a co-production.
Well, that's crazy to me.
Or whatever it is that it's called. Yeah,
It just feels like that's sad.
it is.
Unless they're saving him for 3.
It is a little. Nah, I still
You
don't
don't think they're saving him for 3? I'm going to put out right now, they're saving him for 3. I'm going to put it out there.
It's possible. I think that they're still in contract hell with that.
Oh, because, what's even happening with Tom Holland?
That's right?
Yeah, what's even going on?
Right? Because like the last official announcement was that Sony was like, now the next one, we're officially broken off from Marvel and doing it outside of the MCU.
He's gonna
which
fight
is an insane
Morbius
thing
and
to
Venom.
do. Yeah, which is a truly unhinged thing to do. But that's probably what they're saying as a negotiation tactic to get a better deal from Marvel. So due to contract hell, I am going to say that there will not be any Tom in the next one. Okay. How did you feel, however, about getting the touch of Toby and the touch of Andrew in this?
I liked that a lot. It really did feel like an entire Spider-Verse. I think that's also why I really liked going to Lego, because Lego is such a different vibe than humanity, like than live action. So it's really like you have animated, you have kind of comic book, you have different styles of animated, you have live action. Also, when we go to Venom's world, although that would have worked way better with Tom Hardy than the shopkeeper story. No offense to the lady who plays the bodega owner.
Yeah.
But Tom Hardy is Venom, and you're not.
Yes.
But yeah, so I thought it incorporated well. I like that they didn't draw too much attention to it. It's not like one of them showed up. It was just like, here's other Peter Parkers. I assume live action looks just as weird as Spider-Punk looks, if you live in that world.
Yeah.
If you've never seen a live action person and you've never seen a guy who looks like paper and has a huge outline around him, Both are just as weird.
If you have a Da Vinci Vitruvian Man vulture, why not? Like that's as weird as a three-dimensional flesh human.
Yeah, what do they call us, do you think? Are we the fleshy ones? Are we the 4Ds? Like,
Maybe, yeah.
What are we to them? We're something weird to them. There's more of them than there are of us.
Yes.
There's
I think
2
so.
human Spider-Man, and then there's 800 animated Spider-Man. So
Yeah.
we're the weird ones.
We are the weird ones, yeah.
But I still like that they were there.
Yeah, Andrew got a little bit more prominence than Toby got like a couple background plays, but also I think they were trying to play into like the Captain Stacy death thing, so they were working that.
They were, but I also think they were playing into how everyone in No Way Home was like, Andrew Garfield fucking rules as Spider-Man. We did not give that boy enough credit.
I also feel like this is part of like the Garfield-essence. I don't know what we're gonna call it here, but
Right there with the Renaissance with Brendan Fraser,
Yeah.
the Andrew Garfield-essence.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, it was prevalent enough that I'm like, Sony, are you trying to make this a thing?
He's your Spider-Man.
Yes.
Fully 100% a Sony Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I think Andrew Garfield is just young enough to keep doing it.
And just interested enough in it because Tobey Maguire would rather get shot than do this again.
He's like, I will take your millions of dollars to do No Way Home, and then I will go back to the woods
Yeah.
where I hide.
Yeah, absolutely. And by woods, we mean a creepy pervert boat or whatever he has going on with his pussy posse friends. So whatever it is.
I think the woods is as creepy as a boat. But
You know what?
whatever, however you want to be creepy, Toby.
You know what?
You got millions of dollars.
You know what? Yeah. However he's doing it, woods, boat, landlocked, or sea,
Air.
seabound, air. Maybe it's in
kinda-
the air. So whatever it, but Garfield, I think is gettable. But like after No Way Home, it was No Way Home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. After No Way Home, there was this whole like kind of like. You know, I didn't really take it seriously, but this online movement of people being like, there should be a third Amazing Spider-Man movie. Garfield never got to finish it. I was like, he did his swan song. He waved goodbye. This isn't a real thing. There's no outside chance. But there is just enough prevalence here that I'm like, I still don't think it'll happen. But I think someone at Sony's trying to maybe work on a contract for this. This is pretty prevalent.
That or what I said for Tom Holland with Andrew in the third one. Because I think
okay.
Andrew Garfield could show up as Spider-Man legally. They own that Spider-Man.
I think he could. Yeah, I think it would have to be for a joke because you can't make him the emotional crux of 2 multiversal
I'd do it.
experiences. Yeah, but you're mad. You've lost your mind.
Oh,
You're
I'm
a mad
crazy
woman.
man.
You're crazy.
Okay, not like angry.
No.
I'm a crazy woman who'll do anything and love Andrew
No, you
Garfield
don't
as
care.
Spider-Man. He's been my favorite Spider-Man forever.
He's very good. I wish him well. But yeah, I feel like the whole captain thing might have been a little shoehorned. Because like it felt like a play on the like, oh well, we've all lost an Uncle Ben. And it's like we all haven't, but we all know a captain who's died. It's like I guess
Well,
it
like,
seems like a stretch as to what all binds us all, but
Yeah, because when they're like, every Spider-Man has a tragedy, I'm like, yes, okay, so Uncle Aaron for Miles.
Yeah.
If they just genuinely said like a general tragedy, so like Uncle Aaron, Gwen loses Peter. So like, of course, oh yes, they all do have a tragedy, but then to be like, and they all have a second tragedy.
which are all captains. And Miles, your dad was promoted, and Gwen, your dad's a captain. And if your dad quits, though, he's immune to problems
This is really
because he's
low.
not a captain now.
This is really load bearing on your job title in a weird way. Like, look out, Steve Rogers, I guess. You're fucked if you're near a Spider-Man.
That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, Tom Holland is going to get Captain America killed.
Oh no!
It's going to be Sam Wilson, though. It's going to be really fucked up.
Oh no! What a messed up thing.
What a messed up thing. But yeah, it was a little shoehorned, which also is why like Andrew Garfield was so prevalent, because the captain thing didn't happen to Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland.
Yes.
Neither of them had a captain who died.
Yeah.
Not even Captain America.
And I think it does tie in with the like Captain Stacy. At least it explains kind of like why Gwen gets roped in a little bit more. I fully understand why Gwen is with this group. I'm like, Gwen, you feels like in many ways the main character of this movie, but I'm like, I get why showing this to her is very emotionally manipulative.
I get why. I actually thought it was very interesting, and I kind of thought they were going to say, I inferred this, but the movie didn't say it. I got the impression that she hadn't gone home since she joined the Dimension Hoppers, because I think she thinks if she goes home, her dad will die. Because
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because you would have to be there during the death for the canon to kick in.
Yeah.
It can't be like your dad dies and you're not there, and canon is held.
I get that. I get that exact impression.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting and unexplored as an aspect of this. But yeah, it's wild that how load bearing the title is. How many times were they like, I'm not getting promoted for 2 whole days? Okay.
All right.
All right. I mean, a tragic death's a tragic death. I don't know if it has to be you lost specifically a captain. What kind of the Watcher universe writer is doing this?
Yeah. So it's a little specific for me.
It's a little specific.
I didn't love how specific it.
Yeah, it's happened in a few canons, but I don't think you can say that happens. It's not you had to get bit by a spider.
Yes.
Kind of canon. You have to be bit by a spider.
I mean, and not all of them have. Some of them just have computers.
Yeah, so I think there's lots of canons, Miguel. You can fucking cool it. You can chill a little, man.
Yeah, I did really enjoy. I hope that his Earth is okay for Paviter, Spider-Man India.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. I really do hope that Earth is okay, because that was a cool character that I really liked.
I also really liked him. I will say, this is a very mild complaint. I think the first half is kind of lacking in really big jokes. There's a lot of clever things people say in kind of a Gilmore Girls, Buffy the Vampire style of just not a laugh line, but you're clever.
Fast, clever dialogue.
Fast, clever dialogue. Because I think Gwen and Miles, neither one are joke machines. But once we get to Spider-Man India and once Peter J. Parker shows up, the comedy really ratchets up.
Right.
So I'm
Peter B.
Is he B?
He's B, yeah.
All right, Peter B. Parker. Jake Johnson's Peter. He's actually the only Peter in this, so we can just say Peter.
Yeah, I guess he is the only Peter.
He's the only Peter around. So when Peter and Spider-Man India show up, it is very much oh, thank God, there's big energy in the comedy now. There's big laughs. His whole thing about his hair and the sexual tension.
Just coconut oil and him commenting on the sexual attention.
He was so good. He was so funny.
Garanzoni does a phenomenal job with this role and really owns a lot of the humor and makes it naturalistic and really kind of just feels like a Spider-Man right away as well. There's
grabbed the entire essence of Spider-Man so quickly.
I fully agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, phenomenal performance, really great ownership of that character really quickly.
Yeah.
And also just really cool look and design as well. I love the way
coming out like Captain Marvel style.
I was thinking of the way the webbing worked as well, and everything was cool about it.
Everything was super cool. Yeah, Mumbai Hatton. I don't know.
I
don't know how those two go together.
How they mash together, but Moob Hatton, I would say.
It was very, very, very good.
Let me show you where the traffic is. Traffic is here. Traffic is here. Traffic is also
this
here.
This is where the British stole all their stuff.
There was
nice thing.
Quick, good joke telling. Good joke telling that was more than clever from him and from Peter B.
Yeah, laugh out loud jokes.
Yeah,
were finally around, and also when Peter B's trying to make Miguel hold his baby.
I do love that.
I know that was an animated character and wasn't physically Oscar Isaac, but I could see Oscar Isaac's stoic nature as a baby crawled over him. Yeah.
Oscar Isaac also doing a really good job as well.
Oscar Isaac is great in this. Oscar Isaac is great in everything.
And while we're shouting out the actors, I will say that Haley does a really good job with Gwen also.
She's so good.
Because we gave Gwen storyline credit, but also a phenomenal performance.
She's so good, and it's weird that she's not doing a voice, but I don't find she sounds like herself. When I'm watching this movie, I'm not Kate Bishop Hawkeye.
Yes. Yeah.
She sounds like Gwen.
There's something she is doing that I can't quite put my finger on that kind of owns it as a separate character. And I don't know what it is that she does to get into that space as well.
Yeah, it's not a huge difference voice performance. It's not a wild character, but I'm this is not your normal voice. And it's great. It's it's wild that you were because I think most people would be well, I'll just she's just a regular kind of human, I will just give her a regular my voice.
And I think that Shamik also, who plays Miles, did a really good job of aging up Miles slightly, which they did in the animation. Like, he's a little bit taller. He looks a little bit different. So they've kind of visually aged him up slightly. But I also feel like Shamik aged him up vocally a tiny bit as well, which is a very difficult thing to do with a younger, kind of like higher pitched, more energetic character, to have those subtle variations without kind of skipping a few years or like jumping to what your natural speaking voice is. So I think that's a very difficult vocal performance, and Shamik does a really good job of that as well.
I think he did do a great job of that. I feel like maybe it was even easier on him though, because I think he took out a lot of like voice cracks that Miles had in the first movie.
Oh, okay.
I feel like Miles's voice would be like a little bit more in the first one. He was only like 14.
Yeah.
You know, he was much younger, so I think it was a very good difference. It was just enough to be like, yeah, it's been a year, but still very much like, I'm like, yeah, you're an adult man playing a child very well. Like, that's not super easy.
Yeah. Not easy at all. I do want to as well, just real quickly, talk about one of the other live action cameos, which I feel like worked way better than the Venomiverse, which was Donald Glover.
This worked great. I mean, obviously, because Donald Glover has wanted to play Spider-Man for so long, I think he got to play Miles in the animated show, Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yes, I think there was an episode or two of Ultimate Spider-Man. He has voiced Miles at some point. Yes.
But also he played Uncle Aaron in Tom Holland.
Unofficially played Uncle Aaron, where it was like he's talked about his nephew being a lot like Peter and this and that, and all of the fans were like, that's Uncle Aaron, that's the Prowler, like, you're involved in crime and you're worried about your nephew, like, you're Uncle Aaron. And now this is like a multiversal problematic version of this Donald Glover, Uncle Aaron.
Yeah, I thought that was so nice for Donald Glover. And also, I think I really liked that they put him in a costume to really make him fit in the world better.
Yeah.
And they gave him kind of like a bulky, bigger, like, I'm a supervillain kind of costume.
It flat out looked like an MCU costume.
Yeah, it looked great. But like, if he'd just been in like regular clothes or something, or maybe even just like a spandexy suit, you would have been like, okay. But I think giving him like being like, you're tied up, you're in the full costume, you fit the universe better.
It feels like he's a character that, like, when I say it was like an MCU costume, it was an MCU caliber costume. Like, it's almost like he was in a Marvel movie with that, because it had that level of of detail.
Yeah, and then he just got sucked right up.
Love it.
Loved it. Now, we haven't talked about Punk Spider-Man.
I think Punk Spider-Man, played by Daniel Kaluuya, is phenomenal.
I think he is also phenomenal. I will say, and maybe this is on me, and maybe this was purposeful.
No, it's personal. They were out to get you personally.
They were out to get me personally. I don't know what he said on his background. When he was giving his own background, I was like, I heard the word fascist, and I heard the word spider. And I mean, he said other words. I couldn't understand them through the accent. Once he was in conversation, I could understand him pretty much perfectly.
Sure.
But when he was doing his own backstory, I was like, Daniel Kaluuya, I don't know what these words are.
It was a pretty thick accent, it was delivered fast. It was delivered with fast Spider-Man quippiness with a thick British Cockney accent that you're not used to hearing.
Music that was a little bit too
as
loud.
well. That was
when he's just in conversation and there's no music, and every now and then they would even have to pop little descriptors of the words he was using on the screen to tell you what they meant.
That's right. I forget, there was one use of Cockney rhyme slang, and I can't remember what it was.
It was something that rhymed with clue. Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo. Yeah, Scooby-Doo. Yeah. And Cockney rhyme scheme is a truly insane thing that I don't know why it exists. It infuriates me. But
as a character, after the background part, I think he was so wildly interesting and wildly cool. Like, all of his visual effects, so cool. His, just cool-ass demeanor. I'm like, oh, man, Gwen, I know you like Miles, but you should totally bang this. This is...
Oh, yeah. And she might have.
She might have in the interim. Yeah. And I do not blame her in any way, shape, or form. What a hottie.
And him stealing stuff real quick from headquarters to build the bootleg device later. I was like, this is is my guy.
So well seated in, and so like obviously Punk Spider-Man is the one who would do this, and like it explains why he's even working for an establishment at all. It's like so I can punk out later.
Yeah.
So I need to get the information to be anti.
Yes.
I need to know what I'm fighting against.
Even when he like quits and he just does like a back jump while throwing his bracelet through the portal, like
Fucking
this
cool.
is such a fucking cool guy.
He's so cool.
He's super cool. I love this dude.
And not at all what I expected when a guy just shows up playing guitar covered in spikes.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, he's British. He's that kind. Oh, he's OG punk. Oh, not what I expected. Cool. I was thinking like teenager in a garage.
Okay. Yeah.
Not like traditional.
Yeah. Not like I'm
Not
I'm
like
a
Sex
punk.
Pistols.
Yes,
John
I'm full on.
Constantine punk.
Yes, he is. He's Sex Pistols John Constantine punk.
Yeah, and that's super cool.
It is really fucking cool. He's a cool dude and he's a cool character, and I really like him and all of the other versions. Like I think that Miguel is also a really good like leader of the Spider group as well, and Oscar Isaac's really fun in it.
He's really fun. I mean, I can't really say anything until you get part 2/part 3, because like how the story's gonna end. But I'm also like, it's very good of being like, I'm kind of on Miguel's side. Like you see this backstory of like, oh, the entire universe gets wiped away if you break the canon. This isn't just like a thing you think will happen. You've seen it happen, and you see it happen on Spider-Man India's world. It's like, oh shit, like we're not just hypothesizing. And also it's so easy to be on his side. This is what I find so interesting about the character, is that he's not the one who started these breaks, unless it's revealed that he is in the next movie. The Kingpin machine that blew up is the thing that started this. So it's not like he like created this problem and then is like making it worse for everyone.
Right.
He like found a problem, decided to solve it, and now has to be the guy who's just like, no, you can't save your dad, or else everything explodes. I've seen it all explode, sir.
It's real Doctor Who fixed point in time type of thing is what they're doing.
100% exactly what I was thinking is Doctor Who fixed point in time. Yeah. And that always comes with such wildly interesting moral conflicts of like, what is the right? This is, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And like, but like, you still have to try to save the few.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. I'm very interested in how they're gonna conclude this.
Yeah, it really is gonna. A lot of it will hinge, I think, on the conclusion for me as to how this all works out. Because, like we mentioned, it just ends in an interesting scene, which is Miles kind of realizing his dark potential and like what the problems that could occur, and it's him meeting a multiversal version of him as the Prowler. I thought they did a really good job of seeding that throughout as well, which is the number 42 spider from a different dimension that bit you, the machine that sent you back. Like, as soon as he got in the machine, I was like, oh, you're not going back to yours. That you're going back to wherever your spider's from.
They got me.
They got you?
I didn't see that coming at all. I thought that was a brilliant twist. Like, as you said, they gave you all the information. So when his mom didn't understand, I was like, oh man, Spider-Man's not really very famous here or something. Like, I still didn't get it. I was blown away by how good a twist that was.
I think it was perfect twist writing where they gave you all the clues but didn't heavy hand you with it, where they gave you everything. They put you with either you clued in before or you clued in just a second later. They got you within 5% of knowing. Like, they never gave you too little and never gave you too much, and you're always around the sweet spot for getting the twist pretty quickly. And that is my compliments to the chef. That is perfect.
Absolutely wonderful writing, because also what they did is all the information related to the twist was also relevant for other reasons. Like, the spider, like, being from another dimension is why Miles isn't like other Spider-Men, and why Miguel doesn't like him, and why his canon is weird. It's like, oh, okay, so that explains why he wasn't brought in to be in the Spider Corps group, or why Miguel doesn't like him. It's not just a seed-in of he's going to end up in the wrong universe, but it's also a seed-in of why he ends up in the wrong universe. I'm like, this is such smart writing. I think this is so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool, and it's cool that, like, he's unique and like he's trying to tell them this, and it's just like he's special, he's different, he has these other powers. I thought it was all pretty cool.
I'm gonna have some quick complaints though. Like, we already talked about broadly that the third act is like a little messy. I am so upset that there is no driving force for kind of this movie of like what we're trying to accomplish, who the bad guy is. Because the bad guy's Spot, but he never feels like a problem. He is a joke the whole movie. And then I'm never sure if Miguel is actually a bad guy or if he's just going to be misunderstood at the end or if he's going to help us. It's so messy. Like there's really fun action scenes with all of them, but I'm not like, what are we driving for?
Yeah.
And that frustrates me quite horribly.
I think that there are parts of Spot that I can kind of get into where like I kind of like the idea of the joke villain becoming the powerful villain. It's been done before, but it's one that I think kind of works with Spot here. And it's one that like visually they accomplish really well of like making him look like a joke for a while. And then at a certain point, he is just kind of this hand drawn on paper with just black and white detail in this weird paper universe he exists in. And it's like, this is actually, and it's like glitching. It's like, this is actually getting kind of freaky. And also like you've changed your voice pitch because like they were doing as well. Like it's Jason Schwartzman playing it. And I think it was Jason Schwartzman doing flat out comedy, but then it's him doing a more gravitas in his performance towards the end, and I think they're adding some reverb and voice modulation on top of it. So I think they do a good job of going from like, look at this guy to, oh fuck. I think they do a good job of visually and auditorily telling that story. I don't think it's necessarily written there, but visual and audio, I think, tells it. But I don't think it's the driving force.
Yeah,
it doesn't drive enough.
He gets a little bit more dangerous, but at no point am I like, this guy's dangerous. Like I'm not even worried he's gonna kill Miles's dad. I'm like, I think Miles's dad can take him. Like it's not a concern I have. Maybe this new like crazy powerful guy who like walked into the reactor twice now. Yeah. I guess, is going to be cooler. But yeah, as a whole, it might be interesting. As of right now, I was like, I don't care about Spot. I don't care about a guy who, in the same movie, was introduced stealing an ATM. Yeah. Who, like, within the same movie, like, didn't get his powers after. Like, I feel like that's how you introduce him before he gets his powers.
Ooh, I see that.
Trying to steal an ATM, and they're like, oh shit, this guy's actually dangerous now.
And if you wanted to get more powerful and defeat Spider-Man, why were you stealing an ATM? Like, you were also doing common crime and kind of sloppily, so I don't really know what your deal is.
Yeah, but also, like, it all leads to really fun action sequences. Like, everything involving portals. Portals are such a fun action sequence idea.
Portals are always fun.
They're always fun.
And they work perfect for spider people as well.
Yeah, and also, like, all the Spider-Man after Miles fight sequence is wild to watch. It is so frenetic. There is so much webbing. There's so much happening.
And also, even like before the action scene, there is so many just Easter eggs and wild stuff that it's just like, this is just a countdown of people getting their hands on digital video to be able to like freeze frame and kind of go step by step and put and grab all of the many Easter eggs that are going on here. So there's a lot going on there. But yeah, good action scenes. Like, yeah, fighting Spot is fun. The action scene in the multiverse headquarters is a lot of fun. Good action stuff, but yeah, I agree. This villain is just revving up, and also, Miguel is only kind of just barely having his villain turn.
Yeah, I'm still not even sure I'm against the guy.
Right.
I'm like kind of like, I don't want the universe to go away. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Give me more information.
Yeah. I am against the guy in theory, but it's complicated at the very least. Yeah. We're seeing a dark side of him for sure.
Yes. He definitely is attempting not necessarily a murder, but an intensity. I'm gonna go with an intensity. Happening.
An intensity, a level of absolute power and understanding that is typically reserved for members of Marvel's Illuminati in the comic books. Like, this is a level of maniacal control that's typically reserved for like a Reed Richards.
I'm actually gonna throw in a Kang in Loki.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see a Kang in Loki.
I'm controlling everything.
Yeah.
Even the other Kangs.
Yeah. So, yeah, a Kang. I was also thinking of the, like, extra-dimensional prison feels a very Reed Richards thing of a negative. Yeah, the negative zone.
Now, I will say, they are returning those people to their worlds.
Yes.
It seems like there's just a backlog.
Yeah, I guess they're just doing it slowly.
I don't know why it's taking so long.
I don't know if I fully trust these fucking people.
That's a great point.
I don't know
Because
if
I
I
will
fully
say it
trust these
seems
people.
like the spiders can go to different dimensions pretty fast. So I don't know why the prison return machine takes a long, long time.
Yeah. So well,
Something's going on.
Something's
You think
going on
something's
here.
going on?
I think something's going on here. I don't fully trust it.
You don't trust Vampire Spider-Man?
I don't trust Vampire Spider-Man. I don't fully trust him.
Heartbreaking.
I think the other the moment that like did kind of like get me full of emotion was like there were a few moments in Miles' story that really just kind of got me. I think one was like when he jumped off the train, that moment of falling, kind of representing the first movie as well, and kind of hitting with like I know who I am and I'm letting go. And
Yeah, the same way the glass broke as he jumped off.
yeah, I thought that was a really nice kind of flip back to what the first film was. There was some nice visual stuff that really got me. It was just Gwen just kind of like sitting upside down as they were having that conversation. The visuals of the upside down city and just the way that they choreographed that scene, that was so gorgeous and moving. I loved that.
That is actually the last positive I had written down that I wanted to talk about. That scene is gorgeous. Yeah, it's emotionally like interesting. It doesn't make you cry, but you're so connected to these characters and how alone they are and how relieved they are to have found each other again. But also they're upside down in front of a lake that is reflecting the city. So the city's also upside down with them in a reflection, but the real city is also there. It is wildly complicated, but so beautiful at the same time. How many layers of like themes and allegories are like they don't fit in this world, and they kind of can walk it upside down like they're not supposed to be here, like a Stranger Things upside down kind of place.
Yeah.
Like they just don't fit in, and they like the world they see is a reflection of the real world. It's wildly interesting and so well done.
And even just like Miles being on the top and her sitting on the bottom for a little bit, and just being like, you are both sides of the same world, and her just kind of being like, we are the same person.
That little moment where he's gonna hold her hand and she's like, I die every time I fall in love, and he's like, okay, bye.
She says something bad happens.
Yeah, something bad happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, she didn't say I die when I fall in love, but like we all know what happens to Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, well, she says all of them, and I'm like, not all Gwens are dead. Clear, like not every Gwen, but like I'm sure some of you get your heart broken because the Spider-Man ends up with MJ or whatever. So there are complications in most of the scenarios as well.
Fair enough, but yeah, the little bit of hand and then he pulls it away. I'm like, oh, it's just such light, lovely storytelling.
Yeah, and then like the little bit of shoulder lean is really nice and lovely.
When he's invisible in that scene and he's upside down and like almost clearly wants to Spider-Man kiss her. Really fun.
Really nice.
Really cool.
I really thought that she was going to like see him or know that he was there or something like that as well.
He's real invisible, huh?
Yeah,
Even like that girl's computer couldn't detect him.
No.
And she had like 8 different like visors of
she had the
scans.
predator vision and stuff like
going
that.
On.
Yeah.
I didn't know his invisibility was that good.
I didn't think it was that good either, but here we are. I also really liked the scene between him and his mother, him and Rio. That didn't do it for you?
I was gonna say which one. There were so many. There was more than I needed. They were all really nice, but I'm like, we could have compacted.
Gotcha. I would say like the scene after Gwen.
Oh, the really nice one where she tells him to go off on his own.
Yes. Yeah. To be like, go off on your own, but always come back. And like that's just a really lovely scene between the two of them, and they sell the shit out of it. Holy fuck. That a really good performance from both of them in that scene.
A really good performance. A really just like tragic moment for me of a mother who has to like just keep giving, and her son's not really giving anything back because he can't tell her, but like that's what moms have to do. They just have to let them go, your kids go eventually. There's like so much packed into that scene. She's such a good mom.
Yeah, she's such a good mom, but at least like she knows something now. She knows he's interested in a girl. Like she knows something going on, and like that at least is like, okay, I can try to understand you and meet somewhere in the middle. I mean, there are some good moments with Jefferson as well, with his dad.
Oh, the whole scene where he doesn't like he's talking to Spider-Man.
Yeah. When he's just like, I think there was a moment where he was just like, you think you're a good dad, and then the game completely changes. Like just this kind of like metaphor for like they keep growing up. And it's like, as soon as I figure out how to be a good dad for who he was last year, it's not last year anymore. And just that exhaustion and desperation of like, how do I do? Like, I'm always a step behind. How the hell do I figure this out? That was really nice, but the Rio scene, I think, was the emotional crux that really kind of did it for me.
Yeah, Rio was the emotional crux in this one, where in the first one, it was the scene where his dad's talking to him through the door.
Oh, yeah.
So now both parents have kind of gotten an emotional crux scene, which is nice, because it's like, I feel like if one parent got more than the other, I'd be like, one of you is going to die.
Oh, okay.
By having equal parent love, it's like, maybe you'll both live. And I think that's where we're going, because the whole thing about Miles' storyline is he doesn't need motivation by death. So I think they will both live. But I'd be more worried if it was just like the dad completely and no mom stuff. I'd be like, that guy's toast.
Interesting.
Kill that guy.
Very interesting.
That's my take.
Okay. Well, I'm feeling pretty good about Across the Spider-Verse. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good about Across the Spider-Verse. I'm very excited for Beyond to finish the story so I can be like, now.
We can judge it as a whole.
Look at it as a whole.
Judge it as a whole.
To be fair.
That'll be nice. Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? So now that we've discussed everything, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask the final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, to please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, wherever you might get your podcasts.
Yes, it really helps us out. People see new reviews and they're like, oh, it is a new, current, hip, happening show. I will check that out, and then we go up the charts. It helps us out so much. It warms our hearts. We read them and we're like, people like us. Oh,
we love to read that. We love it.
We love it.
So please go and leave a review. It helps out any podcast that you listen to. So while you're there, do it for a couple of your favorites, not just us. Everyone in the podcasting world appreciates it, and it means a lot. And it's a free way to support. But if you do have some money in the budget and want to support us monetarily, check us out over on Patreon. It's a monthly subscription service. You can subscribe at whatever is in your budget, and you'll get cool bonuses for doing so. Even if you only have $1 to spare, those $1 add up. They make a world of difference. They pay our bills, keep the lights on, allow us to keep this as our full-time job, which we need to do to make these episodes and to make everything that we do on the network. And the $1 level, you get our webcomic a day early. We also now have a new $3 level where you'll get this podcast early.
You get this podcast early and ad-free. So if you need to hear our spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Across the Universe before you go see it, or want to decide whether you should go see it, at the $3 level, you could have gotten this episode on Friday, if you're listening to this on Monday, when it comes out. Time travel. And also the ads are removed. It's a fun listening experience early.
It's a sweet get. And then also at the $10 level, you can get a exclusive episode of this podcast every single month. So that is what we do at the $10 level.
This month we are doing, this isn't going to make sense for a few weeks, we're going to do It Part 2.
Yes.
Because we're doing It Part 1 because it's the same director as The Flash.
Okay, yes.
It all comes together when you're like, the director of The Flash has only done the It movies.
It will make sense.
There's going to be a lot of puns. We'll have a say no puns.
We're going to have to lay down the law either way. Yes, so next week on the public episode, we're talking about It Part 1, and then on Patreon, we'll be talking about It Part 2. At the $10 hero level, you'll get access to that exclusive episode, as well as the full back catalog of exclusive episodes, and also all of the other tier benefits below it. You'll get the $3 benefit of early and ad-free episodes. You'll get our webcomic early. You get it all, but depending on what is in your budget, go check it out at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That's patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And thank you to all of our current and future patrons.
Thank you so much, patrons.
And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change? Diana, what would you change?
I would love to have a change that just kind of ends this movie better. And I don't think I've ended it better because I think I've just ended it and not made a third movie.
Okay.
So I guess my movie will be shorter and we're just going to end it.
Okay.
And my change is I kind of don't really see the point of Miguel telling Miles all this stuff about Canon and everything. So in my change, Miguel just sends Miles, is like, just send him back to his world. Don't explain anything. Because if you don't explain anything to Miles, Spot will just kill his dad. So in my version, Miguel's like, just send him back. Don't explain anything to him. Like, that's your job, Gwen. Don't tell him anything. Gwen decides to tell Miles everything. And that's going to be her big moment of like, I don't know if I can help you, but you deserve this information. If you go back, Spot's going to kill your dad. And Miguel obviously finds out. And now this is why we can't let Miles go back, because he's been given the information and he wasn't supposed to have it. So I think it's very silly that Miguel just gave up the information that he couldn't have for no particular reason. So Gwen tells him and she's not supposed to. This leads to kind of the same chase scene that we saw of all the spider people going after Miles. Miles gets to his world. In my version, all of Miles's friends are going to try to defend him in this movie. All the other spider people show up in Miles's proper universe. And then Miles hacks all the watches and he sends everyone away and he decides to end this story himself and he fights Spot alone. And he saves his dad on his own. And I think the rules will be if you can do it in canon with no spider people interfering, it's going to count.
Okay.
So this is kind of, it's complicated and it's long, but I was kind of like, Miguel, what are you doing? Why would you even tell him all this stuff? So I want Gwen to be a little bit more involved in this story because the opening and end make it Gwen's movie and the middle makes it Miles's movie. And I think Gwen being a little bit more involved and deciding to tell him the truth would be a little bit more interesting to me. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know if we need a third one. I don't know. Obviously, I want more Spider-Verse movies.
A third one can be a different premise.
That's kind of the thing.
And not the other half of this.
I definitely want more Spider-Verse movies. I don't want part 1 and part 2 Spider-Verse movies. So, my biggest change is this part because I think it gets messy near the end. Andrew, what would you change?
I like that. I think I have a similar emotional feeling to this with a different execution.
Love that.
To a certain degree, is that I kind of like where your head's at in terms of in terms of some of the characters being a little bit more active and having a goal in that regard. I think Peter B. Parker should be captive because he tried to tell Miles.
Ooh.
Because I think one of my biggest problems here is that these people, particularly Peter B. and Gwen, because we see the robot mech suit one-ish in the background, and later we get a teaser of Noir being in the next one and Spider-Ham being back, etc. But really, let's talk about Peter B. and Gwen kind of being in here. They know Miles. They're friends with Miles. They fucking love this dude. Gwen, I actually get her arc of being manipulated by people and being afraid that she is doing what a multi-dimensional group of adults are telling her to do because she is scared shitless of her dad dying if she ever goes home or disobeys them. Mm-hmm. I fully get why Gwen kind of reluctantly and passively betrays Miles. I understand Gwen. Peter B, I cannot understand in any scenario being like, yeah, we're going to let Miles' dad die. Because I think what they all learned in the first one and what all the Spider-Man learn and what the lesson permanently is and what the theme of the first movie, what the theme of Miles' video game, it is try. You have to try. That is the theme of every Spider-Man, to be like, this situation's actually hopeless and you can't do it. But I have to try, and I do not care what else happens. My moral obligation as a spider person is to fucking try, is to show up and try every second against impossible, sometimes irresponsible odds. My entire thing is that I am not the one who says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I'm the needs of the few. I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. I am the one who looks out for the few. I am literally the embodiment and the hope of few. You get out there and you try. And I think that should be the thing Peter B wants to, hears the council out and is like, yeah, absolutely. And then runs to tell Miles. And maybe catches a glimpse of him, or Miles doesn't get him and then is captured. And now Miles is chasing, I saw Peter for a second and he disappeared. What's going on? And now Miles is an active protagonist actually chasing after this organization. And now he's suspicious of Gwen. And he's like, why would Peter come to see me and then leave Mysterio? This level of I need to track down where my friend is. And it's because his friend tried to warn him. And it's yes, we could risk everything, but that's what spider people do, is we try. And I think that is the theme of the last movie. It's the theme of almost every Spider-Man, everything. And that's what I want to see here, which is Peter B. want to warn him, get captured. Now it's Miles trying to rescue his friend and being suspicious of his love interest. Now they're engaged.
I can get behind this. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that it makes them all more active, kind of a little bit more in character. Because, I feel like I totally agree that Peter B. didn't feel like he would be active in all of this if he was informed about what was happening. I thought it was going to be revealed that he didn't even know about all of it.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think that's why they just kind of shoehorned him into Miguel's backstory, that he saw the world get destroyed. And I was like, that's a little like, I need more information about that then? Like, which world got destroyed? Was it Peter B's? He's still here.
Yeah.
Why was he there? What was going on there? So yeah, I think that would be very interesting. It would maybe add a little bit earlier Peter B. I would be worried it would like make less Peter B as a whole in the movie would only be my concern, unless we find him. I just like Jake Johnson's funny, and that's the funniest character in the movie.
I mean, I think we could have him then like in a cell talking to Miguel or whatever, or to Donald Glover or anyone really.
I want that for some
That's
reason.
fun too. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of fun ways that you
They
could
do
kind
have
of,
a prison.
I think there's a lot of fun ways that you can kind of bring that into the fold, and it's way more in character because like any spider person, if you were like, yeah, we can travel through dimensions and time, and we see that this person dies, so don't go save them, is not something I can literally imagine any spider person saying to any other spider person in any regard ever. It's very hard for me to.
It's kind of wild to think how many spider people are in the Spider Council then. Like,
yes,
hundreds of them have agreed to this?
And I understand them agreeing to all of the other shit. To be like, a Da Vinci vulture is in the wrong universe, go get him, I understand all of that other shit. But then we do not prevent certain deaths seems truly unhinged.
Yeah.
Truly unhinged.
It seems like information Miguel should be hiding from everyone.
Yes, like that's something that like him and a small black ops group does.
Yeah, because while
or maybe
Miguel's,
that could be like the small group Gwen was talking about, to be like there's a small group within this group that does the dirty work.
Yeah, because the big reveal is that everyone knows. Because when he's explaining it to Miles, suddenly the room is full of hundreds of Spider-Men, and that's not kind of how that should go. It should be all those Spider-Men just think they're catching villains who got sent to the wrong world.
Yeah.
And then Miguel's holding back.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, I love this idea that Peter B is trying to like break out and be the informant. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Very in character.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love that.
Thank you very much. But yeah, I think they need to have a driving force. I agree with you on that. And I like where your head's at with Gwen.
No,
but I buy into Gwen.
I love that you wanted to make Peter B a better friend, and I wanted to make Gwen a better friend.
Either way, Miles has made better friends.
Yes, he has made better friends.
And
he deserves better friends.
Yeah, it's out of character that he doesn't have one really good friend who will move the universe to try to help him.
Maybe it was Spider-Ham.
I would love, honestly, next movie starts, Spider-Ham has been fighting every dimension-hopping Spider-Man, trying to ham his way back to Miles and save the day.
If anyone can do it, it is a Bugs Bunny-esque cartoon who definitely can't die.
Yeah.
He's immortal.
Love it. Love it.
You could drop an anvil on his head. He's going to be fine.
Noir finally figures out the Rubik's Cube, and like that opens up dimensional gateways for him. Boom. That's it. And he's trying to save Miles.
Great. New changes.
Love
New
it.
changes just dropped,
New
everybody.
changes just dropped.
Love it.
We can't stop. Well, that is going to be it for this week for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And next week we are going to be back, and next week we are going to be talking about It Part 1 in the build-up for The Flash. So we'll be talking about It Part 1. Same director is the theme.
We will point this out several times.
Several times
to
we'll point
explain
this
the
out.
theme.
So
You would think Michael Keaton had done another movie we could cover, and we can't find one.
I mean, we haven't done. There's other options, but we're saving those.
Yeah, fair.
There's a. Don't tweet at us, Michael Keaton films. We know. We also
he's done other.
We
movies.
also have IMDb, and there's some things where like we'll do Beetlejuice when Beetlejuice 2 is about to come out. There's Michael Keaton in the chamber.
We got plans.
Don't worry about Keaton. Keaton's gonna be just fine.
We think he's gonna be okay.
All right. Well, we'll talk to y'all next week. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Ivimey, Ivimey.
I'm at Words of Diana, and I'm so chill about Michael Keaton, like everyone else here.
He'll be fine. And you can reach both of us at From Superheroes. We'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.